Okay, I'm ready. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Do 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 do. Dr. Fauci, admit to us, please. Tell us a lab created all this disease. We will get mad, so try to stay distant. We checked your emails in the BS you gave us, Fauci. Yes, stop with this cheese. We all know that you worked with the Chinese. Your funds went to the CCP. Dr. Fauci, don't lie to me. How was that? Was that pretty good?
That was perfect. That was
Yeah, we're not putting that in the show, are we?
I'm pretty sure
I thought that was the new theme song.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Well, you thought I was performing that for you?
I don't know. I thought you were doing a mic check. At least I hope.
Wait.
I think I performed it about as well as Rusty did.
No, I think you actually have performed it much better than me. Is this a comment? Someone wrote all this?
Yeah. After Fauci's emails got leaked, somebody commented this on the video of you singing the Dr. Fauci song.
Did you guys see the email Fauci got that was like virus playoffs?
No, what is that?
Like, you know what the playoff ranking is? How it's like a line of teams, and then whoever wins moves forward, and then they go against each other and then move forward. That makes sense?
Okay, so just to clarify for everybody at home, all three of the original Peaches are back. First time in months that we've all been on the same show. And the big news story this week is that Dr. Fauci's emails got leaked and he was caught red-handed lying about a bunch of shit.
But the bigger story this week is that my Twitter got deleted.
Oh, that's the biggest story. We're going to skip to that?
Yeah, they're gonna, it'll be in the news soon. But, you know.
Yeah, I guess in retrospect, these Fauci emails aren't that big of a deal compared to Reactor's Twitter account.
Everyone knew about Fauci being stupid and lying and stuff like that.
Are
we allowed to say that?
Say that again?
Are we allowed to say Fauci lied?
I don't know. I'm actually wondering.
Even though the emails like prove it?
We're starting out the episode by saying that he's a Chinese agent and that he's lying about. Like I'm pretty sure that YouTube has strict rules on that.
Well, I don't know. Reactor, you read these emails. What are the hot scoops? Like they can't deny literal evidence, right? If we're just saying what the email said.
I didn't really like pay much attention to him because I was like, okay, I already knew that. Okay, I already knew that. It was just like shit that I already knew. Like if you think that the virus naturally sprung up from a Wuhan market, like right down the street from a level 4 bio weapon lab, then
that's a good place for him to cut out. I hope he's still talking on his end.
Reactor, were you going to say something? You just kind of cut out there.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. I don't know the last thing that you said. If
you think that the wet market across the street from the level 4 bioweapons lab is the cause for a virus escaping, you're extremely gullible.
Yeah, is that what the email said? I haven't actually read any of them. No, and I'm not were there any interesting things that came out of it really?
Well, like aside from the whole someone sending Fauci the virus playoffs with coronavirus as the winner, which is a little disturbing, but aside from that, like it kind of goes along with the things that Fauci was saying. Like if you read the emails, you're like, oh look, he said masks don't do anything, but later in the emails he says they do something. But if you really think about it, he was saying that publicly also. So it's like, okay, we knew he didn't know what he was talking about. But one of the weird things I saw is someone, I think it was Peter Daxic so Fauci funded this group that funded Wuhan. So it was indirectly funding, right?
Right.
But the guy that he funded, that was funding Wuhan, sent him an email. I'm pretty sure it was him, this Dr. Peter Daxic or whatever it is, that literally spelled out exactly how the virus was made. Like with like scientific jargon that it's like almost hard to understand, Mm. Yeah, it was kind of weird, but
yeah. And so like I was wondering like if there would be anything in there about. I mean, I guess the big news with Fauci is like with Rand Paul grilling him about what's that called, where you make a virus so that it can infect humans.
Yeah, that's the
A
other thing.
bioweapon?
I don't know if this is from the emails, but they did find, or Wall Street Journal wrote that
Gain of function, that's what it is.
yeah, Wall Street Journal wrote an article saying there's a DNA sequence in the virus that is only created by gain of function research. And it's like GCC-GCC DNA chain or something.
Right.
So basically, Wall Street Journal was saying this was 100% made in a lab.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and clearly there was something in the emails that made Dr. Fauci look bad, because as soon as they leaked, like, his book deals were canceled. All the companies that were publishing his new book, like, what did they read in these emails that they decided, oh, we're not going to publish Dr. Fauci's new autobiography? Fuck that.
I think because the whole point of the book was like propaganda to cover up the fact that it escaped from the lab. And now that the emails kind of just point out that Fauci was just, because another one of the emails was from that Peter Daszak guy or whatever. I could be wrong, or just like generally an email he got that said it like linked to an article saying that it leaked from a lab like a year ago. And yeah, I actually don't remember, but it was either Fauci or the other person who in the email wrote, handle it. Yeah, I think they were telling,
that means.
I think they were telling,
It's
yeah, they're
also
telling
vague.
Fauci to handle it. Like there's an article saying that it escaped from the lab. You need to handle this,
Right.
which is like, okay. I mean, I guess you could say, well, if it wasn't made in a lab, then he was saying handle it to stop people from being incorrect. But,
I had not heard that he got his book deal canceled. That is really, like, did they give any reason for it? I mean, is he remarking on it at all?
I mean, it sucks, though, because I would love to read the book. The book is going to be like, it's going to age very poorly.
I think so, yeah.
I don't think
how
it's
he
going to
saved
come
the
out.
world.
Like, you get to look like, wow, look at the lies they were trying to tell everyone.
Did you read Hillary Clinton's book, like Why I Lost or whatever the fuck?
No.
I mean, you should do a reactor, book review, or like book club, and you and all your fans, one chapter at a time, read Hillary Clinton's book on how Trump won.
I don't like reading books. So.
What about Requiem of the Crazies? Have you read that one?
Nope, actually haven't. And if I was going to read a book, I guess that would probably be one of them.
Oh, thank
Didn't you buy a copy of my book?
No, I think Tim did.
Oh, that's right. Tim had it.
Yeah, I might have downloaded the PDF.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I really do think it's there's got to be a lot of stuff in it that's going to age poorly.
The whole year is going to age poorly.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see, like, did he fund directly or indirectly any virology labs that were doing gain of function research, and gain of function being that you're actually adding functions to, you're like kind of weaponizing the virus or whatever. And
then the scientists like Fauci claim like, well, this is so that we could see how dangerous it could get. Like, okay. Yeah, how dangerous it could get if you make it dangerous.
What a great thing. You have to make it as dangerous as possible.
I guess like
just
they
to
found
see.
like
And then, of course,
an article or a speech from Fauci from like 2012 where he said they asked him if gain of function research is worth the risk of causing a global pandemic, and he said yes, it is. So that's
he did.
Yeah, he did. It's pretty bad. Here's the crazy thing, though. 11 days before Obama left office, he rebooted the research with gain of function virus, like research into viruses in Wuhan. Like they were doing it in North Carolina, but then at some point they blocked it or banned it in America and moved it over to Wuhan. But that was 11 days before Obama left office. But 3 days after Obama did that, which was like, 8 days before Obama left office, Fauci predicted that Trump would be faced with a terrible pandemic.
Where did he predict? Is there like actual quotes of this?
Yeah, FauciPredictions.com. You don't go there?
Oh, yeah.
No.
No, I mean, well, yeah, there's actually a video of Fauci predicting
I've got it bookmarked.
Yeah, but the idea that Obama, right before leaving office, started the research again, and then 3 days later, Fauci, magically predicted that Trump would be faced with a pandemic.
I gotta find
I don't know. I gotta say, Fauci must be a really good virologist to have predicted that.
Let's see. Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Disease, said there is, quote, no doubt, unquote, Donald Trump will be confronted with a surprise infectious disease outbreak during his presidency.
Yeah, and it's really easy to have no doubt that that'll happen if you're the one who's going to cause it.
Yeah, right.
What are you reading, Rusty?
Well, this is on helio.com. I'm not really sure what
that's not mainstream news, so we can't trust it.
Well, yeah, but when was it published? Because if he said that like in 2017?
Yeah, it was early January of 2017.
Oh, you didn't know that he predicted it? Like, I knew he predicted it, but it was like, yeah, okay, sure, but you can't. That's still circumstantial, you know. He didn't say I'm going to cause it. He said it's going to happen. I'm sure of it. I don't know how, but it will. But
yeah,
I thought the whole idea that Obama had just restarted the research and then he predicted it. It's like, they're working together or what?
Yeah, I thought it was more like a thing where I knew Trump did something with funding or infectious disease research. I really wasn't paying attention. So I figured like a lot of people were saying, well, you wouldn't be surprised if a pandemic does break out and now we don't have the resources to handle it.
Yeah.
But
and then also,
that's pretty clear if he's just saying there's no doubt that he will be
he was sure of it. He was positive. Like, yeah, no doubt means no doubt. Yeah.
Can I just say that I had no opinion here or there about Dr. Fauci until I saw the Dr. Fauci song. And when I realized that's what his fans look like, I realized I disliked the man, and now suddenly I now I buy into all this shit that you're saying.
You guys know Fauci is the one who was like in charge of the AIDS pandemic in the 80s, right? He's the one who said you can get AIDS from a toilet seat.
Oh shit!
Well, you can if there's blood and cum on it, like in my house, then you might.
And there's giant wounds on your butt cheeks.
Which possible,
there are.
Yeah.
You're bleeding out of your ass, and then like with cuts, and you sit on the bloody cum of a.
Hey, if you saw my diet, you would not be surprised by a cut up bloody asshole over on my end.
Well, I mean, even if your
it's
asshole
nothing but
was
hot sauce over here.
It can't be your asshole because your asshole doesn't sit on the toilet seat.
The way I do it.
Oh yeah.
You
wipe with the toilet seat.
It's just so weird. Like I feel like just the general image of Fauci and kind of how people are talking about him now, it's definitely starting to shift. And I wonder if something is going to come out really soon. Like it definitely feels like we're just being fucked and we don't know what's actually going on.
No, I feel like
has he made any public? He hasn't made any public statements ever since the emails leaked, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know actually.
So he's like hiding. His book got canceled. Like clearly, this man is getting like Bill Gates. Another
thing that happened was like last year he was on the stage with Trump doing a press release or whatever, and someone asked about hydroxychloroquine, and he said there's not enough evidence to show that hydroxychloroquine is safe, and blah blah blah. And if you look at his emails, you can also see that someone sent him their own research on hydroxychloroquine being safe. And it was like a decent study, you know? So then he went on stage and said, there is nothing that says so.
Did you just
which is
cut
crazy
out again?
because hydroxychloroquine is prescribed to pregnant women
is
for the
going
last
on
60
over
years.
there?
So the only problem is that when a drug is 60 years old, nobody owns the rights to it anymore, so anyone can mass produce it. So you can't make as much money as you can with a vaccine. You know? It's like if Tylenol cured coronavirus, it's like, oh, fuck. Well, there goes our profits.
And is it confirmed that Fauci had a financial stake in the vaccine?
I guess I haven't seen like paperwork, but my understanding is he's got patents on the vaccines and on some viruses.
Let's see, Amazon and Barnes
including
& Noble
coronavirus
have apparently taken down a new book by Dr. Fauci. 80-page book, blah, 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 blah. On Tuesday, the book
Do they give a reason?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that now. The posts were then removed. National Geographic Books confirmed the removal, which was reported the book had posted. Wait, okay, so the dailymail.com reported that the book sale had been posted accidentally and prematurely.
Oh, so I hope it still comes out, like while he's in prison.
Yeah.
Was it so? The guy the PCR test is what they used to test the virus, right? And the guy who invented the PCR test, there's a video of him actually talking about how stupid he thinks Fauci is and how Fauci just goes up there and says whatever he's told by like the pharmaceutical industry, stuff like that. And like he's saying like this guy doesn't know anything about anything. He doesn't know how to use an electron. He thinks like one of the things he said, he was like, Fauci thinks you can take an electron microscope and look at a virus in it, and that absolutely doesn't work. And this is the guy who invented the test that they're using to test people. Another funny thing is the guy who formatted the PCR test for it so that it could test for coronavirus didn't actually have an isolated sample of coronavirus. So it makes you wonder, like, what were they testing for? And it also kind of would explain why people were asymptomatic, because if it was just a random piece of RNA or DNA that all humans have, you know, yeah, some of them are going to test positive if you jam a Q-tip far enough up their brain, you know?
Yes, that's weird. Yeah, if they weren't actually even formatting the test to, they didn't have actual COVID-19.
Yeah,
to
and then
format.
Another
I'm
question.
really dumb about all this shit. So like, I'm just trying to keep up.
Another question is if the virus can be spread if you're within 6 feet of someone, why do they have to stick a Q-tip into your nose or and poke your brain?
Yeah, you should be able to just cough directly onto.
Yeah, you should be able to huff or like breathe air onto it,
or just take like a mouth swab.
Yeah, the fact is, in my opinion, and even more than my opinion, I would say it's a fact. I would bet my life on it. Coronavirus is bullshit. It was used. They weaponized the idea of it to cause panic and get the mail-in votes out. You know,
I don't know, man, because I mean, there still was like a big uptick in deaths.
No, there wasn't. Nope.
You're saying
wasn't.
Not at all. Well,
no. There were actually less deaths last year, but also, like for example, a county in California just admitted that 25% of their COVID deaths weren't real.
Who admitted that?
A county in California. I don't remember.
All right, one county.
But this is all stuff you can Google. You know.
I know. I'm really trying to I want to Google all this because I'm interested in the deaths in 2020 thing. Like how is that being reported?
The funny thing about the whole COVID deaths and everything is, you could argue like, well, people were all stuck inside, so there were less car accidents, right? And there were more suicides and drug overdoses, and blah blah. 50% of the comorbidities, according to the CDC, were flu, which is weird because if you also look at the CDC's charts on the flu in 2020, there weren't any. There was no flu.
So I need to find this right now. You're saying if I go to the CDC, I can find.
Well, the problem is like Google downranks anything that goes against the narrative. So you'd probably have to use DuckDuckGo, but
can
also
I do that? If it's the CDC, I should be able to get to.
Yeah, no,
very easily.
Probably not. I don't doubt that Google would block CDC info. Also, they're just trying to create the narrative and reality. Sort of like how if you Google was there election fraud on Google, it'll be like absolutely not. Our elections were the safest ever.
Okay, estimated influenza disease burden by age group. 2019 through 2020.
Is it a chart? You can see a chart. Like I've got the.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm even
pages
looking
and
at
stuff,
though. Deaths between.
It's easier if people just.
Well, let's just pick an age.
Do their own research.
All ages. There we go. So this is 2019 through 2020. Estimated deaths of influenza is 21,000, and 90% UI. I'm not really sure what that means.
I don't know. That's 2019, like the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
COVID like quote unquote started, there were like zero flu, and like especially into March because all these hospitals were getting paid for COVID patients and COVID deaths, so they had like an incentive to let people die and to write COVID instead of flu. So all of the data is skewed, all messed up.
Yeah, I do believe that. I mean, a lot of the data is skewed, but you're saying that there's less deaths in general in what?
Yeah,
in the
there were
States?
actually less deaths, and you could argue it's because of less people doing stuff. But also, a funny thing about it is, the average lifespan of an American is like 77 years old for a man and like 79 for a woman or so, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at the average deaths from COVID, it's like it's older than the average lifespan. So like all of them, because what happened was every old person that died last year, they were like, COVID death, let me get that money, please.
Right.
You know, you get a motorcycle accident, COVID death, like that's a true story. The guy he tested positive for coronavirus from a PCR test that didn't know what a coronavirus was, and they got money, and he died from coronavirus. It's like,
yeah, I really
just
do
wish
believe
people
that,
would wake up, man. Like,
well, it's just like there's a lot
reality
of shit
is scary.
to look
I get
at.
it.
But so there's two theories here. Yours is that this that COVID in general is doing nothing at all, and for some reason, everyone around the world is all just conspiring to say that COVID is what's causing every death.
Look, Bill Gates is like the number one vaccine guy, right? And Bill Gates is a huge fan of eugenics, and so was his parents. So were his parents. Bill Gates isn't a computer programmer. He didn't program anything in his life. His mom is from a very wealthy banking family, and just helped set him up. Like, she introduced him to Warren Buffett when he was a kid, and then they became business partners, and that's how he kind of shimmied his way. He like kind of bought Windows or DOS from someone, and then put Microsoft in front of it, so it's MS-DOS now. And then he just kind of like bought a bunch of stuff, and then, you know, the main thing that got Bill Gates to the top, though, is because he somehow got an illegal monopoly on computers to put his operating system on them, which is insane. That is like the monopoly to have in the world, you know?
Right.
Like,
but
you think a media monopoly is bad? Let someone own every operating system on every computer, you know, or at least 80% of the computers in the world.
So, all right. So if I understand, so this has to be around the entire world that there was no uptick in deaths.
Yeah,
And if there were, then every nation conspired to say that all the deaths were actually, or that a lot of them were caused by COVID.
Well, there was a lot of different motivations. Like the Democrats were motivated by causing fear and panic and blaming Trump for all the deaths, right? So
yeah,
that was
but what about like Italy?
But wait, yeah, well, basically, listen. Okay, so Bill Gates owns a PC operating system monopoly, and then from there, what he did was he owns like 30% of everything, right?
Okay.
And when you own everything, you can tell people what to do, you know? So he's got a lot of money in pharma, and he's connected to like Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of the websites and internet things that, or even the media, the news. They're all pushing this because there's big money in a government vaccine contract. That's why they're pushing everyone to get it. Like, kids don't even contract COVID-19. They have like a 1% chance of getting it or something, and they have almost a 0% chance of dying from it. Yet they're trying to give all these kids this experimental gene modification vaccine. It's because they want to sell it.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably, but I think, you know, that can also be true too. But kids get older, and eventually they're going to be in the age where they can get COVID, and if COVID's, you know, going to be around in some form or another, then it's like with anything you vaccinate children.
There's tons of stories about people who got vaccinated not understanding why they still tested positive for COVID. And it's because it's not a vaccine. It's literally not a vaccine, and it's an experimental gene therapy. That's what it is. It's insane that people are like, yeah, sure, modify my genes because I'm scared.
Fuck, man,
I'm scared of a virus.
Pretty heavy.
And
so I mean,
Google,
but in this
what is
theory,
coronavirus? You go to the Wikipedia page and it says coronavirus
is nothing happening in India out of the
virus.
ordinary. Like, you know, you hear about, at least through our media, that India, at least for a while, was having like overfilled hospitals and
that was actually after they started giving people the vaccine.
So you think the vaccine is what was causing?
Because what's funny is, here's another thing: this gene therapy vaccine. I hate calling it a vaccine because it's not. But what it does is, you've heard about this probably, that it tells your cells to make the spike protein that helps the virus bind to your body, right?
Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, they also just realized that the spike protein itself is toxic and it destroys the vascular system. So that's why people are getting blood clots and stuff like that, because you're actually putting a toxic protein into your body.
How many people got blood clots?
Well, the VAERS website,
wasn't it like
last
6?
I saw, no. The VAERS website shows 5,000 people died, and and I think it was in like March, there was 200,000 adverse effects, right? And sure, there's a whole bunch of them, but also it's also well known that VAERS is only 10% of reported cases. And you can see videos of like one lady who has seizures now, who has to take medicine. She was like in court giving her testimony, said that a couple days after getting the vaccine, she started uncontrollably shaking. And she had asked the hospital that she worked at, she's actually a nurse or something, or like a healthcare worker at the hospital she got the vaccine. She asked them to report it to VAERS and they refused. So 3 weeks later, she ended up reporting it herself.
I'm just going to say this, like, it's not even strange that a pandemic could happen. So when one does happen, like, why would you go through the great lengths to assume that it's all fabricated? Is every pandemic before this also fabricated, like bird flu and H1N1?
I think they are. Like, I never thought so before, but now after like looking into all this, AIDS, there's a lot of
you're saying AIDS is fake?
There's a lot of theories. No, I mean, I actually don't know. I don't know if it's real or fake, but
no, AIDS is real.
There's a lot of theories that it was made in a lab. No,
my uncle has AIDS.
No, I'm saying it was made in a lab though. Like, all of these dangerous viruses are being made. It's like.
Well, now you're conflicting with yourself now.
No, not what?
Because first you're saying that these deadly viruses are made in a lab, and perhaps that Fauci worked with Wuhan gain of function research to turn this into a deadly thing, and then at the same time you're saying it's not even.
No, because here's the other thing: viruses naturally don't want to kill their host. They're just like parasites, where if you're super deadly and you kill people the instant you touch them, well, then you're dead too because you're not landing on shit.
Yeah. Okay. So all right.
So that's why, like, if you look at herpes or AIDS, like they don't want to kill their host.
So you're saying that they didn't make it deadly, but they made a disease that was very
more
contagious.
It was more contagious. Yeah.
So a lot of people would eventually test positive for this thing, and then that's one thing. So everyone has COVID, and then the second part is that they have to start saying that people are dying of COVID-19. So they're subverting actual deaths from other causes and relabeling it as COVID. So
because the hospitals had an incentive by getting paid for every patient or death, which is crazy because if you
they're
think
doing
about
this all around the world.
Yeah. And because Google and all these media websites that control the narrative are deleting accounts and banning people for suggesting otherwise, this is the reality we're forced into. Even if like nothing ever happened, there was absolutely no virus and nothing ever happened. Like, my belief is that it was probably just genetically modified virus that was more contagious and doesn't kill people. It's the cold virus, because Bill Gates wants eugenics. He thinks the world is overpopulated. His world. He thinks it's his world because he's the richest guy. He owns everything. And
Reactor. So to any of the fans listening at home who might have had like grandparents or family members who died of COVID, like, what specifically would you like to say to them?
Old people die from the common cold. That's the problem. People die.
Okay.
That makes sense.
If they made a more contagious common cold, it's because that's what I was getting at. Bill Gates wants to lower the population. He said it 1 million times.
Uh-huh.
He even said that vaccines are the way to lower the population, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, but I don't know if the common cold makes it so difficult to breathe and like impairs your lung function on that level.
I mean,
I see what you're saying, because like bad? Old people do die of the common cold, and so if you have a more infectious common cold, more old people are going to get it, and more people are going to die.
Yeah,
so but I feel like COVID was not only more infectious, but more like the symptoms were more deadly than the common cold would be.
No, I don't think they were. I think it was.
That's okay that you don't think so, but there's like a lot of people who couldn't breathe because they got it.
I don't know about that.
You can't really have an opinion on that.
No, I don't really know anyone who couldn't breathe.
I mean, my dad had it, and he said he couldn't breathe very well, and his lungs kind of hurt.
Maybe that's a chest cold. That's a literally the common cold. That's a bad flu.
I think it's COVID-19.
Yeah.
I think there's probably truth somewhere in what you're saying, but I don't think it's 100%. I don't doubt
there wasn't I do think that there was the average seasonal flu, which is pretty bad for some people. You know, people do die from the flu all the time.
And just coincidentally, it was super bad for a lot of people this year.
It wasn't, though. The guy on the motorcycle, was it bad for him?
So he's saying it's not. So reactors, I don't. How would you verify this? Because you're saying that it's not worse. But is it not worse, or did more people die with COVID-19, old or not? Like old people specifically, more old people died because they got.
Well, okay, it wasn't. It was like, okay, so what we had last year was the average flu. That was like, flus are bad. It sucks to have the flu, right? It sucks.
I guess.
So if you're old, if you're 90, you're dead. If you have liver failure, you're going to die from the flu. If you have kidney failure, you're going to die from the flu. And if you look at all of the death reports of all these people who died from COVID, they also, like the comorbidity, a lot of them are like renal failure. Like seriously, the kidneys failed. Like not from the virus, but they were in bed dying with kidney failure, and they got the virus. They tested positive, and when they died, the hospital said, "Yes, please give us that money."
Yeah, I there's definitely from what I understand, there's a lot of truth to that. Like, how many deaths have comorbidities though? Are there any deaths that are just COVID?
The CDC said 5% had no comorbidities, but then they also gave an excuse as to why, saying like, but we couldn't really tell if there could have been comorbidities we just didn't know about. Like what? Like they're making an excuse for the last 5% that could possibly be, compared.
I think everybody can acknowledge that corruption exists everywhere. And yeah, of course, if there's a financial incentive at play, yeah, people will downplay or overplay a virus and maybe lie. Well, but I think it's too far to say the virus does not exist at all and was not more deadly than a common cold.
I think
exists. You're going too far with that.
But the PCR test that they used, the guy who, rigged the test to test for COVID didn't have a sample of COVID, which makes no sense. And then
is that just like one story that you're basing your whole theory off of?
You heard about asymptomatic cases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
I mean, I think Bill Maher got the vaccine and then he had asymptomatic COVID.
What do you call it when
week?
You don't have any symptoms of a disease? What's that called? I like to call it healthy. No, I call it healthy.
Well, just because I think some people, the virus didn't affect them very bad. Like they had it in them and they could spread it to other people, but they just didn't have any of the symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, it'll all have to be proven because this is all just like common sense for me. But and you can't argue it, I know, but yeah, none of it make like the fact that none of it.
Should we move on to a more hard hitting news story that actually affects the common man?
Oh yeah, like my Twitter account getting deleted.
Yeah, Reactor's Twitter account has been taken down again, folks.
Like I actually the last post that I left up because I have been posting stuff and deleting it just so that Twitter doesn't get mad at me. But the last thing I said was I wasn't using it anymore, and I think I posted like twice in the last 2 weeks or something.
I think on Memorial Day you kind of got drunk and posted 10 different things.
On Memorial Day, because Memorial Day pisses me off.
Let's hear about that.
People dying for fake wars and money, because I'm a veteran, and just thinking about the people I know who died and knowing that the wars were fake and blah blah, it just fucking pisses me off. And I can't wait till Memorial Day in general. I can't wait till the people who profited from the wars, pay.
I don't think they ever will.
I think they will.
I think they're gonna die rich and in power, and no one's gonna know, and we might actually. They'll have a lot of people that look up to him, and they'll have book deals.
Yeah, right. No, I saw a funny meme. It said, "What is it? War is when the government tells you who your enemy is. Revolution is when you figure it out for yourself." That was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the whole idea of like all these wars, like if you are a, chest thumping. I don't want to belittle the intelligence of anyone who's like actually fighting in a war because it is. Crazy shit to have to do, but at a certain point it's like, do you trust your president to send you into war? Do you think any of these wars are funded by people who don't have like the best intentions? Yeah,
all
I mean, right,
wars.
it's all over oil
what
and resources.
Nixon restarted, or what was it? Like Nixon ruined the peace deals for Vietnam because it would have hurt his reelection. It's shit like that.
Right.
Or
right.
Was it Dick Cheney was working at Halliburton, the weapons manufacturer, before he was vice president, and then we went to war. It's like
Yeah,
Well,
it
I
pissed me
think
off,
most people agree that the Vietnam War was stupid bullshit, and everything we're doing
All
in the
the
Middle
wars
East
are.
is stupid bullshit. But no, I think like World War II and stuff. Like, why not have a day to honor the people who died on the the banks of Normandy and all that shit? Like, aren't those
speaking
real
of
wars
that,
and real soldiers?
You heard about how Biden didn't even mention D-Day?
Well, yeah, so I mean, I'm asking you, like, do you hate Memorial Day even for real wars like those and all the heroes
No, I don't think
who died
there are no
defending
real
us?
wars. There are no real wars.
You don't think World War II was real?
There's
No, I
actually a
don't.
lot of there's a lot of speculation.
I mean, it was a real
on
war, but I
should
think
we have been in World War II? Also, we were on the sides of the Nazis, kind of. We were like just kind of hedging our bets and waiting to see who would be ahead, and then we
not
took the
even that.
side of the Allies or whatever.
wars are fought for the capital, for the World Bank. When the World Bank doesn't have ownership of a country, they don't have a central bank in that country, it pisses them off, and then we go to war with them. And usually America is the country that fights those wars for them. And, and other countries join us and stuff like that. But like with World War II, I don't mean it wasn't real. Like I'm not a World War II denier. I'm saying it wasn't what we're told. It wasn't, we weren't fighting for freedom. We weren't fighting for anything other than power for a select few people who wanted it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if we're fighting against the people who are like doing concentration camps, you can
America
rewrite
was doing
history however
concentration
you
camps.
want. Well, we did it to the Japanese, but I mean, look at those fuckers.
Exactly the same as the Germans.
That's true.
Oh,
I mean,
wait,
that's
but-
true.
but wait,
Are
people
we
will
that
argue-
much better?
People
But
will argue.
I don't think we were like putting them into ovens and roasting them and shit.
I don't
we were just
think that-
hiding
why
them
would-
behind a barbed wire
No,
fence.
no, because look, what happened is any country that's in war will have their prisoners of war. And like, I guess during World War II, America didn't trust the Japanese people. They thought they were spies. And Germany thought the Jewish people were
just
spies.
to be clear, I do not agree with the Japanese internment camps, but I don't think they were as severe as the concentration camps.
Look. So what happens is in war, supply lines get cut off. They cut off Germany's supply lines. And Germany had a choice. Do we feed our prisoners of war or do we feed our soldiers? Who do you think who would you choose?
I guess the soldiers would make more
Yeah,
sense.
so
Why
whoever
were the
loses
Jews
the war,
the prisoners of war? They were just rounding them up into
were they-
ghettos
okay,
and then
but-
forcing them onto trains
Yeah,
into
no.
these fucking prisons. Like,
Yeah.
what did they do?
nothing. That's the point. Just because they didn't trust them, just like we didn't trust the Japanese, but if America's supply lines were cut off during World War II, we would have starved the shit out of those Japanese and let them die too. So we're not the good guys. War is all evil. There's nothing good about war, and war is
Do you
just
know
for a
that-
select few people to get power.
Do you know that for a fact though? Like how our concentration camps, how they worked? Was it because it was definitely a lot more freedom. There were communities within there, and people had positions and roles and jobs and whatnot.
No, it was the same way in Germany.
They farmed for their own food there.
Yeah, it was the same way in Germany.
Yeah, but were we supplying them with a ration of food that could be cut off?
when Germany had their supplies, they were feeding them and making them work. They were making like uniforms for them and shit like that, right? And same with Japan or the Japanese. They were doing work for America.
I honestly don't remember. I've seen like one or two things.
Yeah,
on
it wasn't
and
like hey Japanese people, we're making a utopian society for you between like in this fence.
Well, yeah, it was
You
in
know?
like a really shitty part of
Yeah.
of the country.
Yeah,
that they really couldn't do
America
much
was
in.
America was capable of feeding them, so they didn't starve. But Germany lost the war. As far as I know, Germany was actually begging not to go to war. They were actually dropping pamphlets over London, saying, "Please don't."
I mean,
do
weren't
this.
they the ones invading all the neighboring countries and taking
Well,
over?
Like I don't want it's really bad to talk about true history. Like all wars are bad.
The
so I'm not
Nazis were
defending
not
them.
invading the neighboring European countries?
Well, what happened is like after World War One, Germany got really screwed over and blah blah. They took land from them, and Hitler. They had like the whole Weimar Republic. They were in debt, a debt that was impossible to pay to the World Bank. So Hitler was like, "Fuck this, we're not paying our debt anymore." And the World Bank was like, "All right, bitch, we're gonna fuck you
cut
up
out
then."
there.
And but also in Poland,
keep happening?
which now had the territory that used to be
It's
Germany.
that Tim Pool Wi-Fi. It's dog shit.
Hitler didn't care that they had taken that territory because it wasn't even him in charge or blah blah blah. But the Germans that were living in that place never left, and they were basically minorities. So they were being mistreated and killing the German people that lived there. So Hitler kept saying to Poland, "Stop killing them. stop killing them. And they were like, no, we're going to kill them. And he was like, no, please stop killing them. And then they were like, no. And he was like, fine, I'm taking that land back then, because what he cared about was German people, So then he invaded them. There's actually a video of Hitler rolling into Russia, communist Russia, and the Russians were cheering for him and throwing roses at him. It's fucking weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Russians were in a fucking hellhole, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the gulags, which had, millions of people that they housed 1 million people at a time. And those
and
are
that was our
mass
ally.
concentration.
That was America's
I know, we allied
ally.
with them.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just going to say this real quick because we were talking about it. It might change something. I knew I saw this somewhere, but in the Japanese internment camps, most of that food was farmed by them. So they're farming, they're creating their own food supply in
That's
the
cool.
camps.
Yeah.
So it's not like we would cut off food to them. We really gave them none to begin with.
America
get their own.
And if America was invaded and their supplies were cut off, who do you think that food would go to? The people who grew it or the soldiers?
Like you're saying that the Japanese internment camps, they would harvest food and then they would have to export it to the military?
Well, no. I'm saying so if they were growing their own food and eating it and nobody gives a shit, America doesn't get invaded, or at least didn't back then. But if our supply lines were cut and food was scarce and America was starving, do you think those Japanese people would get to eat their food, or do you think the soldiers would get to eat it?
Well, what about general prisons?
What do you mean?
Like, wouldn't we take food away from our prisoners and make like private prisons?
Yeah,
and
actually, I never looked into
food?
that. I wonder what the prisoners in Nazi Germany.
Well,
would happen to them.
Reactor, if I could just ask a personal question. If you think that America in World War II was on the same level of evil as the Nazis, why did you even join the army?
Because I was going to take it over from the inside. No, I don't know.
What's
I
your
joined the
real
army 'cause-
answer? Like, why the fuck would you want to be part of a system that did all this evil shit?
Why did I join? I don't know. I was bored.
Because you were
It was 2000.
a
It
lot
was
younger,
2008, and there was the economic crash, and I was just like, I don't want to be in Chicago anymore. I want to go to Hawaii. So I flew to Hawaii and then started talking to a recruiter from there.
Okay.
I don't know. I did it for fun. I never actually.
Well, I think that's what the
government.
Nazis said too.
Well, no, but look.
did it
So
for
if
fun.
I did it for
the
fun.
difference is like half of the people in the army are mindless morons who will shoot a civilian if the government tells them to, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Whereas I would shoot the government if they told me to shoot a civilian. And I think it's important that soldiers with my mentality are in the military.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely should be. But would the military even work if you had that type of breaking in like the command chain and just not following orders? What do they call that whenever you don't follow orders?
In the United States military, you are not obligated to follow orders if they go against the United States Constitution, because I didn't pledge an oath to the United States government. I made an oath to the United States Constitution, and that's it.
True, but what actually happens when someone does that? Like,
no, I mean, if they tell you to kill someone and you think it's unconstitutional, I mean, of course you don't shoot at your higher ranking officers for telling you to do it. You just tell them no, and you'll probably get court-martialed. You'll probably go to court, maybe prison. I don't know, because it is corrupt. It's a corrupt world.
yeah,
Good guys
it's
aren't in
weird 'cause
charge.
For the longest time, we would execute if you were a deserter.
Yeah, that's if you're a deserter. I'm not saying I would desert.
Or
I
if
would
you
just
don't
say,
follow
no,
an-
I'm not killing a baby. You're out of your mind. That's not what the Constitution says to do. It says,
Now there was
explain to me why this
movie back
baby
in the day.
is dangerous to us.
There was a movie back in the day, and I think it was based on a true story. It was in World War I, trench warfare, and every time I think it's called Paths of Glory, every time the troops would try to advance to the next trench, they would instantly just get mowed down. Like there was no way of advancing, and and a commander, someone very far away from the actual front lines, made the order to advance, and in the platoon, like they were like, we cannot, and so they didn't, and then they were all tried for treason, and in the story, they just picked 3 of them, and then they said, we'll execute these 3. Now, I know that's a dramatization, but I believe that happens or happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I never heard of that. That reminds me of something else, though. Did you know that after World War II, we basically hired a bunch of Nazis, brought them over to the United States, and let them run our science programs?
Oh, yeah.
That was
knows
the Poole family.
Yeah, no, it's like Operation Paperclip or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something
Operation
like that.
Paperclip. I mean, like the dude end up giving like God, he's got a famous name. He worked for NASA.
Yeah, what's his name? He was the rocket guy,
Yeah, right.
the rocket scientist. No, but and even the scientists who were torturing kids, they were like doing experiments on Jewish twins and stuff like that, seeing if they had like psychic links. Like if we cut this one's arm off, will this one feel it?
Well, I know we killed a
it was
lot of
that shit,
those.
insane shit.
But I'm not sure.
No, we didn't. Hey, if you look at the court trials of like where we tried the prison, for the crimes of war, whatever, we weren't, like we didn't kill anyone who was important. It was kind of like a bunch of fall guys, and we were like, oh, but you, what's that dude's name? That rocket scientist. You can come work for us with all your, 40 other Nazi friends. You're good to go.
Wernher von Braun.
Yeah, there you go, von Braun.
Yeah,
so it's
I am interested now. I want to look up like how many more Nazis did we just hire?
Yeah, and actually, I haven't actually looked into this myself, but someone was telling me when Japan surrendered, they didn't even do a traditional surrender. Like normally when Japan surrenders, they like do something like a sword ceremony where they hand over their weapons or something.
Uh-huh.
And after World War II, they're just like, oh, okay, we surrendered. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. All right, you can't have an army. And they were like, all right. It's like it's a little confusing because like if America won, how come the Nazis invaded the American government?
Well, I mean, they were like the scientists and the doctors.
I mean, you can word it however you want, but a bunch of Nazis started working in our government.
Well, the person who directed what's the Nazi propaganda movie, the major one?
I have no idea.
Oh, God damn it. Nazi propaganda.
The greatest story never told, I think.
It's
Triumph of the Will.
Yeah. Triumph of the Will was directed by a woman, Leni Riefenstahl, and we specifically did not try her for anything because she was just a director. She just made a really good movie that was I never saw it, but like she was a great director. And despite the fact that the movie was just Nazi propaganda, after the war, she was arrested but classified as being a fellow traveler or Nazi sympathizer only and was not charged with war crimes. Throughout her life, she denied having known about the Holocaust, besides directing, Riefenstahl released an autobiography. Okay, so I wonder how many fellow traveler identifies as a person who is intellectually sympathetic to like how many of these people did we hire? I want to look into this now.
And do we even know how, like the scientists, I guess I don't think they told everyone at first, like, hey, just so you guys know, the war's over, but we're going to let these Nazis, come over here and do a bunch of research and basically work for our government. They're part of our government now, which sounds a lot like an invasion to me. I don't know. I think it might have been like after decades.
I wouldn't call that an invasion. That's just kind of common now. Like, I mean, it's been common for a while that you still utilize all your enemy's resources, and if your enemy's resources are scientists who have all this science and data, you don't want to just execute them. You want to understand.
Okay, so here's another thing. You think Nazi Germany was worse than America? Did you know that MIT and Quaker Oats actually put radiation into oatmeal and fed it to a bunch of mentally disabled and orphans like 50 years ago? Did you hear about that?
That does not surprise me in the fucking least because
but it was important scientific research because they were trying to find out how the nutrients from Quaker oatmeal flows through your body.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. So yeah, they're all right. So they attach it so they can see how the nutrients flow through the body, but they end up just poisoning everyone.
No, they literally poisoned them because they could follow the poison and see.
Yeah, man. I mean, this shit happens. Dude, I don't think we're as bad as the Nazis at all, but we bombed our own soldiers just to see how the tests of radiation on them. All those soldiers that you see
videos of
footage
them, like,
of, and they're watching the atomic bomb from varying
that's
distances.
Insane. And they didn't know.
That's to see what the effects of radiation was on them.
Yeah, nukes weren't like a big thing. So like the soldiers were like, "Oh, you're just gonna blow up a bomb above me? That's gonna be awesome, like fireworks," you know?
Right.
But no, it's an atomic bomb, and you're gonna get cancer.
Yeah, they all
in,
died
like,
of
20
cancer.
years.
There was like a whole group of them that they constantly try to, hush up.
Yeah,
They're probably all dead now.
So the idea that one government is the good guy is false. There's no
I've
good
never
guy.
been a fan of the United States government, but
Yeah.
I think historically the Nazis were probably in the wrong.
No, I don't know.
is that your
No,
claim?
well, I'm not saying.
He just
not in the
denied
wrong.
it, so it's not that crazy
No,
of a claim,
I'm saying-
evidently.
I'm saying all of them are in the wrong.
Right,
War is in the
right.
wrong. No, but like,
But
what
we were more in the right.
Back to the whole Memorial Day thing. What pisses me off more than anything is the idea. Like, if you see the videos of like D-Day, these soldiers who are on these boats, like hitting the beach and running off and just dying instantly, getting shot by 50 cal rounds, straight through their neck. Or like if you watch Saving Private Ryan, it's a pretty good reenactment. Like these guys thought that they were fighting for something that mattered,
Yeah.
when actually they were fighting for money. They were fighting for power. Not
Yeah, what,
power
like-
for a group, but power for a select few people who are multi-billionaires that
Sure.
we're going to make
Our
a lot more
involvement
money.
in World War II was not because we were trying to stop the threat of Nazism. It was
Yeah.
because there was money to be made and resources to be gained. And then the threat of stopping the threat of Nazism is a great way to get everyone on board.
Yeah, but the whole idea that this is another thing that confuses the hell out of me. Like Germany was allied with Japan. Like so you're telling me, and then they tell us that this guy was racist and he hated anyone who wasn't Aryan.
Well, okay, hold
and
on.
he's
I know
making
a little bit about
alliances with Japan.
But that's because the Japanese also thought that they were an Aryan race, and so they were like, we're superior
Yeah,
to the
oh, yeah.
Germans. So they had essentially the same ideology.
All right, but there were black people in the Nazis. There were black Nazis. There were Muslim Nazis.
Were there?
They don't tell you. Yeah, they don't talk about this. There were There were Nazis of a lot of races. I'm not going to say all because I don't know if there were Mexican ones or.
But yeah, so I mean, again, just the idea that we were fighting World War II to stop the horrors of Nazism while being allied with Russia, who was committing an equal amount of horrific atrocities
Yeah.
on their own people.
But yeah, and
But we immediately went to war with Russia after World War II ended because we didn't agree
Yeah.
with all the shit they were doing.
But no, we didn't stop the gulags.
no, but if you
yeah,
look,
we had a Cold War
hey,
for like 50 years.
That
you
wasn't
realize,
over that.
hey, you realize Hitler hated communism, right? He was fighting communists. He was fighting Russia because he hated communism. He was,
Right.
and then so we fight him, and then after he's defeated, we're like, oh wait, yeah, communism is bad.
And you gotta go to
why-
Vietnam.
Every once in a while, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You got to team up with the communists to take down the
No, it's all
Nazis, and then
fake.
you
And I
go to
think-
war with the communists.
3% of the population are sociopaths, psychopaths, and I think if they didn't exist, there would be nothing but peace. Because nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants to go die so that some other guy could be in power.
I think there's a lot more data that in psychological data that needs to be actually studied on this, because I was just reading a book and they talk about how society operates during wartime, and there's less people, there's less suicides, there's less people who would say that they're depressed. Like depression rates drop,
You know why?
suicide
Wait,
rates drop.
you know why?
People feel
You know
more
why?
unified.
Because they all joined the military.
Wait, say, huh? Not
Like,
everyone.
During a time
I'm
of war,
saying
if
in
you're
general.
suicidal, you join the military. You know why? You know why
no,
the military has such a high suicide rate? Because a lot of people join the military to die.
No. Hold on. First off, I'm not talking about just people who join the military. I'm talking about the entire country as a whole. Everyone feels united on the same front.
No, that's
and
not.
that
No,
gives
that's
us,
not true. We're at war right now, and we're divided as fuck.
Well, that's because I think the nature of war has changed. But interesting
Yeah.
what you say about suicide, why people join. So you got to think, who is being recruited to the military? It's usually people that come from broken homes. So they are already
Yeah.
They're
It's
already
like poor people. You don't have any wealthy, rich kids. Like
They're victims
Papa,
of
can I
sexual
join the
abuse,
military?
violent abuse. Yeah, they're already victims of something that would give them already a sense of statistically they'd probably be more depressed and more prone to suicide later
Mm-hmm.
in life. So the military is just by numbers
also-
alone filled
also-
more with people who are depressed and come from broken homes.
Also consider that everyone who signs that line on that contract is unsure if they're committing suicide as they sign it. I feel pretty confident speaking for everyone when I say, or everyone that joined, when I say, when I was signing that contract, I was thinking, holy fuck, am I killing myself right now? You know?
I love when he cuts out. He speaks for everyone when he says nothing. Reactor,
What's up?
do you know that you've been cutting out for a few seconds every so often?
Yeah, but I figured not to, if I just ignored it, then my audio would be fine.
Well, what were you saying? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I guess we could ignore it. So whatever you said was very profound.
Yeah. I'm glad you
forgot
understood
about
my
that.
point.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if I'm going to be honest, of all the episodes we've done, this is the one that will most likely be removed from YouTube.
Yeah, you're right.
Because-
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point, we're just wasting our own time. Should we call it a day? Was this a podcast well casted so far? Are we done here?
God, we really did just ramble like a
man.
bunch of fucking loons.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many mad
A lot of
people.
shit
I thought
that'll
we were-
get. Like, this is going to be like the episode that gets the channel banned, which I'm all for, but I feel like we've hit our marks here.
Maybe we should, I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't trying to talk about all that crazy shit. I'm sorry for saying that America is just as bad as Nazi Germany.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for all the shit that I was saying about viruses and whatnot, because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
And
just a
I'm sorry
joke.
for singing that Fauci song at the beginning. That will probably get us banned immediately.
Absolutely. Well, do we have any questions, or are we just
No,
gonna...
we'll save those for next episode.
Okay.
We're going to have so many.
Well,
That's
that's
a good
fine.
thing, right?
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
listening, everyone.
Hey, everybody! If you think the Nazis are as bad as us, go to our Patreon, support the show, because we're probably going to lose a few people.
I think.
Please get on. Please support the show.